Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel, and welcome to another match reaction. A Watford defeat. This time we'll be talking about following a really disappointing, I think is the wrong word, but a defeat nonetheless against Sheffield United at Bramall Lane yesterday. No Jacob today, unfortunately, but I'm joined by Charlie Zazera as normal. Charlie, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Bit of a sore head. Chose to go to the pub to catch up with some old friends yesterday, so didn't get to go to the game. It looks like there was a good support, but I did watch the game back today, so looking forward to chatting about it.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, just as you mentioned, I thought the Watford support yesterday was outstanding. It was close to sold out, I think. It was difficult for people looking for last-minute tickets on the day. I know they couldn't really get, but the noise was really good, and we'll come on to it. But in that last-minute goal scramble, in those closing seconds, if we'd scored, that would have been up there with some of the best limbs this season, I think. Just no one could really put their foot through it, which was a shame. But let's go back right to the start yesterday. So 2:00, team news comes out. Imran Louza starts the game over Ismail Kone. James Morris retained his place. Gaspar retained his place at right back, and Keenan Davis was up front. What were your immediate thoughts when looking at the team, Charlie?
Just before I go into that, I wanted to mention that we have got a special announcement that we're excited to announce. So we'll announce that at the end of the show, so make sure you stick around for that for everyone who's watching. Team news, I think that's what we kind of wanted. We know Kamara's got a hamstring injury, but James Morris played well against West Brom. And then Louza came in for Kone. I actually think Kone played pretty well against West Brom, but we've all been crying out for Louza. I think Bilic said the medical team said he could only do 45. I think he got a bit more out of him and got taken off. Looking at the team, I think that's what everyone would have had down normally. I think it's interesting, Sema and Sarr's position. They did switch in the second half, but Sarr's been starting on the right and Sema on the left, which I found a bit interesting. But yeah, I was happy with that team. Good to get more minutes for Louza. And I thought the performance was maybe not good, but I thought it was okay. But yeah, what did you think going into the game?
Yeah, I was quite happy with the lineup. I mean, we've all obviously been crying out for Imran Louza since he got injured in that Millwall game, and it's great to see that he's back in the side, and hopefully with more minutes he'll be able to pick up some form as well. I think we'll come on to Bilic and talking about the substitutions, but I actually thought when Kone came on, I thought he had a really good game, and I'd actually argue that I thought he probably offered more than Louza. I don't think Louza's fully fit at the moment still. I think we can see that. So I think there's been an overreaction with that substitution, but we'll come on to it. But the performance on the whole, I thought it was okay. I think the words that Bilic used, well, not exactly paraphrasing it, but defensively, I thought we were solid. I thought we were really good. It was just in that final third, it wasn't good enough. And we've said that a lot this season, just not clinical, not really having that cutting edge. But my question for you, Charlie, then is, do you think it was better than the West Brom performance on Monday?
It's hard because I watched it kind of raw today. My instinct said it was, but I don't know if I'm not too sure, but I thought it was. I thought we were strong defensively. I thought everyone's performance was pretty solid. Obviously, we'll do the player ratings, but I thought we looked like a good unit. I think the thing that we're not is cohesive, and I think Sheffield United were a bit more cohesive than us. Obviously, they've been playing a lot together. They've had their manager for a longer time. They've got that kind of identity. But I thought we looked like a good unit. It's just when we're trying to attack those patterns, those moves, they're not happening yet. And I did think it was a good performance. We just lacked cutting edge, like you said. So hopefully, well, we need it to click and get some wins. Otherwise, the playoffs might not happen. But yeah, I did think it was a good performance.
Yeah. I to be honest, for me at least, I'd say I think good is a bit of a stretch. I just think it was okay. I think it was definitely an improvement on Monday. I thought there was again an overreaction after the West Brom game. I didn't think people were saying the performance was poor. I thought we did well actually on the whole. But obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but I thought we improved again against Sheffield United. And this is a top side, a side that's second in the league. I know they've been a bit shaky recently, with particularly Middlesbrough piling on the pressure on them, and they lost as well yesterday. So it's a huge win for Sheffield United. But they're still a very, very good team, good manager, good players. And they'll be back playing in the Premier League next season. So I thought we did okay. But before we come on to the goal that they scored, an own goal, unfortunately, by our man Porto. Gutted for him. Let's talk about Keenan Davis, because I think he had two really good opportunities yesterday in the game. The first one was in the first half. I think the ball was played through. I can't remember who from. Was it João Pedro? I think played it through for him. And I think there was an argument there suggesting that we could have had a penalty, but he wasn't able to make contact on the ball, and I think went straight through to Fotheringham in goal for Sheffield United. Do you think it was a penalty, first of all? And also, do you think Davis should be doing better in that situation?
Yeah, we spoke about. Everyone knows I'm a big Keenan Davis fan. I think he's seriously lacking confidence at the moment. Again, I didn't think he had the best game yesterday. That penalty incident, it was a really weird one because it's not that clear cut. You can clearly see that the player kind of did push him. He'd done what he needed to do to put him off. When I watched it, I was expecting more of a reaction from everyone to claim for it. Keenan kind of asked for it a bit, but not too much. So, and I think he had a good headed opportunity in the first half. Yeah, he just needs one to go off his bum or something, because you could tell he's not full of confidence. I thought, especially, I don't know if it was James Morris's cross, but for that header, and it's hard to say because we haven't seen Henrik Arouge too much, but maybe Arouge would have, with some of the deliveries and opportunities yesterday, Arouge would have been a bit more nimbler. There was one where I thought João Pedro arrived at the box and should have done better of a header, and Keenan just didn't react quick enough. So, we'd really need him to get his confidence. We need to get him a goal, and hopefully he's going to kick on.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that chance in the second half as well, where it sort of just hit Davis. He wasn't able to adjust his body quick enough. I know, as you said before, you're a huge fan of Keenan Davis, as am I. I can see what he brings to the team. But no goals now since the Luton game in October. 4 goals all season. That's the same number as Vakun Bayo, who people were very critical of before he left in the January transfer window. Do you think it's time that he comes out of the side for Henrik Arouge, for example?
I think it's hard to say, but I think maybe it's horses for courses. Like, who are we coming up against? Are we coming up against a team that have got big physical defenders? I think what we have seen of Arouge, he has been kind of physically sometimes dominated a bit, hasn't been able to hold up the ball. I thought even Keenan against West Brom kind of made Sema's goal, where he kind of pinned the defender back and rolled them. Maybe. I mean, we need to see more of Arouge. I think, like, we've got a really special player on the hand. So I'm not too sure really, but I think, who have we got next coming up? Preston at home. Preston at home. Whatever we need to do, Slav needs to find a way to get them both confident, because I think we've got 2 top talents there. So it's Slav's job to kind of get the both best out.
Well, in terms of getting the most out of both of them, I see Lou Ornsss say 4-2-3-1. He doesn't think it works. I see Greg here saying that Arouge playing off Davis is the answer. And when we did that video a few weeks ago, make sure to check it out, in terms of what Watford's best starting 11 is at the moment. You were a big advocate for playing both of them. I mean, I'm still happy with the return from the last few games. With performances still not fully convincing, do you think it's time that Slaven Bilic changes the shape?
I just don't think he will. This is his philosophy, his principles. This is what he knows. I think once a manager starts changing and not believing in what they want, I think that's when you're in trouble. I would like to see it, but I think what's going to be best for the team. So unfortunately, I just don't think he won't. But I would love to see both of them playing against each other, because I think Keenan occupies defenders. He'll be able to hold it up, and that should give more space for Arouge to use his good movements, get in good positions. So I doubt it. I was even thinking like a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-2 diamond. But I doubt it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think maybe a change of shape would be good, but I don't. I think Slaven Bilic is probably too stubborn in his ways for that. Let's go on to the goal before a wider discussion on Slaven Bilic and some of the fans' frustration yesterday as well. It came from a Sheffield United corner after a good save from Dan Bachmann, bit of a scramble. It sort of came off the ankle of Porteous, I think, and sort of trickled in under Dan Bachmann's legs. First off, Charlie, not to point fingers at people, but are there any main culprits for you for the goal? Because for me, first of all, I think teams target Watford at set pieces because they know we've got a goalkeeper who doesn't come off his line.
Yeah, Bachmann did play well. I was kind of looking to see if we'd done anything cheap in the lead up to the corner, but he actually made a good save off Sander Berg before. I think you're right about teams targeting us. We saw the Burnley game where we let it slip from a set piece. Sheffield United, that's what they're about. That's what they did to Burnley. They bullied them. That's how they caused their goals.
West Brom as well, scored from a set piece.
Yeah, West Brom. And they've done a job of us, really. Whoever was marking at Burnley, I didn't see who it was, but they got blocked off. He had the space in behind, and Porteous just didn't react quick enough. I don't know if he could have moved his feet quicker. And as much as we've raved about Hoot and Porteous, like I thought they were great yesterday again. Really dominant, really aggressive.
Particularly Wesley Hoot. I thought Hoot was brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, I just love what they do with their feet as well. But maybe they need to help kind of dominate and defend set pieces better. It was such a scrappy game. We were like, I don't know whether we were the better team, but it felt like a kind of playoff game. Like you could tell they were nervous from 2 defeats. I think that's frustrating that we couldn't get at them. But there wasn't a lot in it. If we finished our chances, we could have easily got the 3 points. So yeah, we need to cut out those set pieces because they're a massive part of the game.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people, if we took a point from yesterday's game, yes, it's still not great in terms of where you look on the table, but a lot of people, I think, would have been satisfied with that. And on the whole, as we said at the start of the show, we played okay. There were some really good individual performances. I thought Hoot was brilliant yesterday. Hamza Chowdhury seems to be getting better by the week at the moment as well. It's just the fact that we can't defend at one end and we switch off for a couple of seconds, such as a set piece, which seems to be happening a lot, and we concede, or we don't put our chances away in the final third. And it's so frustrating because, yes, people go, we're poorly coached or Slaven Milic doesn't know what he's doing, but it's fine margins ultimately. And I think that's down to the players on the pitch.
Absolutely, yeah. Like so fine margins. And I felt the way we imposed us, the way we were set up. And if you think about Sheffield United, did they have many clear-cut chances? Bachmann made some good saves from like distance.
Yeah.
Made like a shot from the edge of the area, stuff like that. And I know they're not in the best of form, but I thought it was quite a mature performance. And it did make me think, kind of give me some hope going into the season, knowing that if we are playing against a team like that, going into the playoffs, that we would do a job. But football's all about scoring goals. You're not going to win any points without it. And like you said about Slaven Bilic being poorly coached, I think could we have been better, created more clear-cut opportunities? Yes, but like you said, the players are out there on the pitch who, do you know what I mean? They're the ones who we need to score the goals for us. So frustrating, very frustrating.
Here's the thing, because you say you're encouraged going into the last bit of the season. Off the top of my head, I can think of 4 games. I'll go Rotherham at home, we drew 1-1. Blackburn at home, we drew 1-1. Burnley away, drew 1-1. Sheffield United away, we lost 1-0. And in all 4 of those games, there were really positive signs. And I came on here onto the match reaction and went, do you know what? I can actually be positive after that, despite dropping points. But now for me, it's a question of at what points are we going to turn positive signs and relatively good performances into points, because now our playoff place is under serious threat because we've been not cut adrift with 3 points off, and things can change so quickly in the Championship. But I said earlier, I don't think Watford can afford to lose another game this season with the games that we have coming up.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about the fans' reaction, but I think the killer yesterday and why everyone was disappointed was probably all the other results.
Yeah.
Them lot on the road, Millwall, Norwich. So I think why I've got positives is just looking at that team and in terms of individuals. And I think I've seen it on Twitter before. At the moment, it is individuals, and we need to improve and start becoming a team. But I do think now, if you look at our squad, loser came back, could only do 45 minutes. We've got those 4 games for the international break. Let's do or die. And I think if we don't pick up 10 to 12 points from those next games, I think that's when we're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, I think look, we'll touch on now on these next 4 games before the international break. But for me, we've got games now against teams who are either mid-table, not really playing for anything, or teams who are down the bottom fighting for their lives. Those are all teams that Watford needs to be beating if we're going to get promoted. And then we also have them lot up the road and Sunderland to play as well, which will be really tough games. So it's absolutely massive. I don't think we can afford to lose any of them. I think we can obviously afford to probably draw a couple of them. I'd take points now away at Luton and Sunderland if you offered them to me. But we have to win all the others, I think, if we're going to go up this season. And it might be, and that's the problem. I don't think we've got the consistency in this side to do that. But the next 4 games, I think, will be a really big indicator going into the international break. We've got Preston at home next week, followed by QPR away, Birmingham at home, and Wigan at home. How many points do Watford need, Charlie? And how many do you think we'll realistically get out of that?
I think we need 10. When you're saying about kind of we need to win every game going forward, it's getting like that. I think I said in the last video that looking at all the other seasons, you need 20 wins to kind of make a playoff place. So I think we're on 13. We need 7 more out of 12 games.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, these are the teams that we need to be beating. I think we need 10 points, and I think we're going to get 10 points just because what we've seen in terms of consistency. I think we still give away cheap goals. So, do you know what I mean? In the Championship, no one's going to lie over for us. So I think 10 points. What about you?
My gut feeling says I think we'll win 2, draw 2. I think we'll draw to Preston at home. Tough team. I know this season they've been very hit and miss. Sometimes they can be, they're capable of nicking it 1-0, but in some weeks they've been turned over as well. I think we'll draw that game. I think QPR away, I think we'll draw that as well. I think Gareth Ainsworth, I really like him as a manager. I know they lost yesterday, but I think when he's got a bit more time to implement his style, I think we'll probably draw there. And I think we'll beat Birmingham and Wigan. And by that point, I'm not really sure where Watford will be in the table, because it gets to that point now where if we're not winning all our games, we're going to be relying on teams to drop points, which isn't great. And as Lou says here, Preston have the 3rd best away record in the league, so it's going to be a really, really tough game. Before moving on to Slaven Bilic, though, as Axel says here, do you think we'll get the playoffs now? How are you feeling after this weekend's set of results?
I think we will. I'm in the same position, like we said, when we're looking at kind of blocks of game, and we all said how many points we like for the last 3 games against 3 decent teams. West Brom beat Middlesbrough yesterday, didn't they? And I think we said 3 or 4 would be good, didn't we? We got 4. And I think if you look at all of the performances, pretty good. Burnley, do you know what I mean, wasn't the fluid and most cohesive, but we showed a lot of fight. West Brom, I think we made loads of chances and we scored 3 goals. And yesterday we did well away to Sheffield United, who are second. So I just think we've got that quality. And I think with the run coming on, and I know you're saying about the other teams, but because there's so many people who can still get the playoffs, it's like a bloody Royal Rumble. They're going to be taking points off each other. And there's a lot being said about Bilic, but I still think he's a top manager. He's got all of his players coming back, and I'm definitely sticking with him. And I'm confident that we're going to hit a good reign of form going into. Well, I don't know about confident, but I think we've got the players to do it. So hopefully it clicks.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think, I mean, I said this in a couple of videos ago. I think the one game to look out for, I think Sunderland away could be absolutely pivotal for both sides. It wouldn't shock me it wouldn't shock me if whoever wins that game takes control.
Do you know when that is, that game? Is that towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's the 2nd last away game. So something like 3rd or 4th last game of the season. So it's a very big one, that. But talking about Bilic, there are multiple concerns from fans. I think some are frustrated about the formation. Some are frustrated about substitutions. some of my frustrations have been that we haven't seen the likes of Yasser Asprilla and I think Toby Adeyemi should both be on the bench. Where do you stand on it at the moment? Because you say you have faith, but are there more questions now?
Before we talk about Bilic, like, interesting to know what you think in terms of the fans' reaction. Like, there was this couple of tweets which I saw, which I liked. Jacob Deacon tweeted before the game, "Big game today. I fancy us to win, but if we don't, let's not do the traditional meltdown and call for the manager to get sacked for once. Still away from home against second in the league. Plenty of winnable games coming up to keep the faith." And then he quote tweeted that tweet, "As predicted, we're seeing another meltdown. Today was the first time we started loser, Sarr, Pedro this season, and we've narrowly lost to a good side. Good run of fixtures coming up, so calm down, everybody. No need to make any rash decisions. Let's see what the next few bring." And I actually liken kind of our situation to kind of Chelsea at the moment, where Roman Abramovich has created this sacking culture that's fed through to the fans. And I think we've got a similar situation. What do you make of, I know you tweeted after the game about Bilic, what do you make of the reaction when we do lose a game? And I know we're only talking about Twitter and it's not the majority of fans, but what do you make of it? Because I don't think it's healthy.
I think it's important to say, I think it's all subjective because some people, obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. For me, I think you're right. I think the Pozzo's tendency to sack managers, I think, has lent now into the mindset that if we have 5 or 6 games where we're not playing well or not getting results, fans will be thinking about, all right, well, what's going to happen now? Who's going to be our next manager? I think that's just a consequence in the culture that's been built at Watford. For me, I think questions now have to start being asked. I'm not Bilic out. I'm still fully behind the guy. But as I said before, I think some of his decisions in terms of who he's bringing on off the bench, Sombalonga doesn't look fit. If you don't want to bring on a Rouge because of the style of play, I bring on Toby Adeyemi, who wasn't even on the bench. Yasser Asprilla has gone missing for some reason. I don't think at times we're getting the best out of the likes of Ismail Kone and Imran Louza as well when he's been on the pitch. Those are my questions, but I'm confident that, as you say, or as Jacob said on the tweet, that now he's going to have Louza, Pedro, Sarr, all of them playing together. I think we have to give him a couple of games, or at least until the international break, to hopefully get things going. Because the problem with this team is there's no identity to it, and I'm not sure whether that's because the players aren't responding to Bilic's coaching, or because Bilic, or because Bilic isn't a good coach. But I'm convinced he is a good coach because he's got a track record for it. So I just think we have to give him time, because again, it'll come down to a situation where the players will win, and we've seen already that. For example, under Rob Edwards, the players won when they didn't like the manager, and we have to set a firm precedent now that the manager is bigger than the players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was really angry when kind of Rob got sacked, and I think that was the consensus among the fan base. And I think now we're kind of, if we lose, some people go, "Oh, sack him." It's like we've got a manager with a proven track record of getting promoted. I think the injuries have played a massive part. And like I said, now we've got this run till the end of the season where we can judge, hopefully everyone stays fit. So that's kind of my feeling towards kind of the fans and how it's going. And look, I think we all know if we do go through the season and we don't make the playoffs, what a likely situation is going to be. But especially, I just think it creates kind of a negative energy and it's not positive. It's like, if we sacked him now, who are we going to get in and do it all again? And it's just boring. So I just want to urge everyone to kind of keep the faith. Let's try and keep level-headed and see where we are at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think perhaps the only rationality I could see now behind sacking Bilic, and I hate that we're even having this conversation, but I think it has to be had because we know what the Pozzos are like. This team do respond to new manager bounces, and there's no better time in the season to have one than that.
Do they? Have we responded with Bilic?
I think at the start, I mean, we won 4-0 against Stoke in his first game. We obviously had the Luton game. I know there were some really poor results sort of in between that as well. But yeah, you're right, to be fair. Recently, at least, we haven't really responded to it. But I think that could be the hope that a manager can come in and really push those players.
Even if it's unlikely, but even if we didn't make the playoffs, depending how it's gone, if we've made a real fist of it, or say we didn't go up because we lost a tight game, fine margins in the playoffs, but we saw kind of improvements towards the end of the season, I would love to have Bilic as our manager going into next season. But we know what the Pozzos are like.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's go on to some player ratings, and I'm delighted to welcome onto the channel today Jack Davis, joining us from Paris. Jack, how are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, and happy 8-year anniversary since we signed Marco Motta, everyone.
Oh, that's quite a sour note to bring in, actually. I really miss that, man. Great beard.
It was so bad.
So we're going to start bringing on more fans as well for player ratings in the next few videos. We obviously had Rio on last week. Great video. Go and have a watch of it. Rio was able to actually go and meet the Watford players as well on Thursday, I think it was, and was able to get his leg signed as well. So for more context on that, make sure to have a look at our socials. Jack, do you want to explain a bit about your story in terms of what it's like been following Watford out in Paris?
Yeah, so I'm on a year abroad at the moment, so it's been a pretty strange experience going from trying to get to as many games as I could last year to, I mean, I've only been to a couple this year. I mean, I flew back just for the West Brom game, so it's nice to get a win. I'm glad I chose that one as opposed to yesterday's game. It's so frustrating, and it's really difficult because everyone always says the same. It's the hope that kills you, and it really is. And I mean, Sam, you can attest to this, that I'm definitely one of the more positive Watford fans in our group of mates that follow us. But for me, I think what I'm struggling with the most is that despite everything that's gone on, what with injuries, bringing in Bilic, we cannot put a string of complete performances together. I mean, we haven't won 3 in a row. I think we've only won 2 in a row, maybe once or twice. And for me, the big issue with this group of players is that they play within themselves. There are so many people that you could look at them and think, have they given 100%? And I mean, we'll probably come on to it that, you know, over the last few weeks, we've had a couple of really stellar performances, but it needs to be more than 1 or 2 people each week if we're going to, you know, look at a serious playoff charge.
Yeah, definitely. And following these last 3 results or so, and the way results have gone against us in a way, how confident are you that we'll secure a top 6 place and you'll be booking your flights back for a Wembley final?
On record, I want to say that I'm not confident, so that it doesn't come back to bite me later on. I think if we're looking at the teams that we're up against, I mean, Millwall are probably the perfect example of what we're doing wrong. They've been so good this season at coming away with 3 points. And it's all well and good being able to look back at the end of the season knowing that, oh, there were a couple of performances where we played really well. And yesterday's a good example of it. Burnley's a good example of it. But over 90 minutes, you've got to put in a performance that's worthy of 3 points. And can we say that a lot this season? Probably not. And look at how many times we've come away from games only having picked up a point. And if you want to go up realistically, I mean, for me, so one of the games I went to this year was Rotherham away. And I mean, if you're not winning at places like that after those kind of performances, do we deserve to? No. I think we've got the squad, and especially, I mean, it's promising seeing, you know, Loser, Pedro, Sarr, Sama all playing at the same time. So I'd like to think maybe, you know, with a bit more time, you know, we've got a centre-back pairing now that, you know, finally I'd be happy to watch week in, week out. So with that in mind, potentially, I think that looking at the way that the other teams are going around us, it's going to be very difficult. And I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say I'm optimistic.
No, I agree with you. I think it's there are still so many twists and turns. It's the Championship, and anything can happen. Charlie, in terms of teams in and around it at the moment, it's all very hypothetical because things can change so quickly. But is there a particular team you've got your eye on who you'd want to play in the semi-final?
Just not them lot at all. Like, can you imagine if they beat us in any kind of capacity at Wembley? It'd be the stuff of nightmares. Do you know the team I am worried about? And again, just looking at kind of experience, but Norwich, like Wagner's come in. It hasn't been an amazing start, but just their experience with their players. They got people like Pookie's always going to score. Sarah started playing well. Nunes scored that worldie the other day. I think they won again, didn't they, yesterday? So they've got above us. So I think on our day would be anyone, but I think like Jack articulated really well, kind of that inconsistency that we're not getting. But I'd fancy anyone, but someone like Norwich, who had that experience of those big games going up, I prefer to play a Millwall or something like that. But I don't think we can be I don't think we can be picky. We just need to squeeze in those player places at the moment.
I'm just surprised you said Millwall there. They've hammered us twice this season.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. Like, if we just get the ball on the ground and start kicking away. But one question for you guys, and I'll lead it to Jack. Kind of, if you had one, now we've got a team kind of fully fit, maybe not with Kamara. If you had one change you could make to the team to improve it, what would it be?
For me at the moment, I mean, my Watford dream side always has Deeney and Vidra in it, and I think that while you can't really compare Davis and Deeney, I think there are similarities in the role that they can play, and obviously it's a different style of football, it's a different manager. I mean, I'm still living on the Zola dream, so I haven't quite got off that roller coaster yet, but I think a combination of Arouge and Davis playing with Arouge playing off Davis in some kind of 4-4-2, ideally that would be great. I mean, I don't really know what's going on with it. I don't know what the plan is. We don't have a style. I've seen so many people say this. We do not have a specific style. It's very much, we'll give it to Pedro, see if that works. If not, we'll knock it out to Sarr, hope that he'll do something. I mean, something that I liked the look of yesterday, and it didn't work, but I could see it coming good, is that Morris got into some really good positions and he put some threatening balls into the box. And as you were saying before about how it just needs to come off Davis's bum, I mean, we know that we have the capability, if we can get the ball in the right spot, to score from those kind of positions. But yeah, that the change for me needs to be attacking. I'm pretty happy with us defensively as it goes. I mean, the Kamara Morris debate is one that we could probably sit and talk for hours about, because I think there's merit and downsides of both of those. But yeah, for me, it would be finding a way of getting Davis and Arouge playing together and getting both of them scoring.
Interesting.
I was going to say, Sam, what's yours?
I'm just trying to think. I mean, I think it is a change up front. I'd bring Arouge in. I don't think, ideally I'd go to up top, I think, but I don't think it will happen. So I think probably I'd bring in Arouge over Keenan Davis. But as I said, I think we're really missing a sprayer off the bench as that option. I've said that so many times. I think Toby Adeyemo, it's a real shame that despite his goal and there's a couple of relatively okay performances coming off the bench, he's now not getting a place in the side as well. So, and with his contract talks now going on still, I think there's a chance he could leave in the summer. So I really hope we can keep hold of him. It's interesting though, because we mentioned there how happy we are defensively, and we've raved about Hu and Porteous on here, but I don't think they've kept a clean sheet yet, have they? So is that do you think that's at any fault of theirs, or do you think it's a wider problem?
I think, like I said about Porteous, and obviously I'm a big fan, but I think he could have moved his feet better. I think we saw Burnley, that they need to be dominating from set pieces better. They're both big lads, but let's give them a break. They're only 3 games in. I think for the majority of the games they've been pretty solid, and they do bring a lot to this team, especially in possession. Yeah.
Let's move on to some player ratings then. I'll give you both one each.
I thought Jack was doing all of them, so I don't have to.
Up to you, Jack. Do you want to take all of them?
Yeah, I've got it. I'm sure you're going to disagree with a few of them, and I'm going to.
I'll pop if I disagree.
Perfect.
Good man. Okay, let's start off with goalkeeper Daniel Bachmann.
I'm going to give a precursor that all of these ratings, I think, are relative to not only the match, but where I think the players should be performing. So, for example, my expectations of James Morris aren't going to be the same as Ismaila Sarr, for example. So, starting off with Dan Bachmann, we know this already. As a shot stopper, he's very, very good. Distribution was better, still not great. But I think, he's kept us in the game. There are a couple of brilliant saves. It frustrates me that he can't control his box, but we know this already. It doesn't come as any surprise to us. I've given him a 7. It's probably a little bit generous because I would like to see him, take control of his area a bit more. But I think, yeah, as I said, without a couple of those saves, I could have seen us losing 3 or 4-0.
Charlie, agree?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I thought he had a lot better game. How was his distribution? I can't remember too much from yesterday, but I thought it was better, but I can't remember any.
What you'd expect, I reckon. I think that it's never going to be brilliant, but it was definitely improved in comparison to a couple of the performances that he's put in recently.
Moving on to a man who I know, Jack, you're a huge fan of, Mario Gaspar at right back. What would you give him?
We'll just give him a 10 and we'll move on. No, I really like him, and again, as I was saying about playing within yourself, he's someone that you'd expect, and he has, especially when we were going through our central midfield crisis and he was playing out of position. He's someone that will give you 100%, and we know that he's not as quick, and especially when United were pretty fast on the break, I thought that he held his own. I can't give him more than a 7 because he didn't have an extraordinary game. But what I will say is, if he'd have scored that volley early on, that would have been the greatest goal in Watford history, I reckon.
I actually made notes when watching the game for Gaspar. Gaspar, good chance early on, but I did think he was poor in possession. You must have a bit of a man crush for him. But now I thought at some points he wasn't kind of dynamic enough on the ball and making good decisions. But yeah, sorry, Mario, but maybe not a 7 for me. But
this confuses me about him because he's such an experienced player, but there are times where he looks like he's absolutely bricking it. If he's got someone running towards him and he's on the ball, it's just like, okay, I need to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But I think, look, you know what you're going to get from him week out. It's never going to be brilliant. Every now and then he might pull off something a bit special, and he is going to make mistakes. Like, there's no denying that. I mean, I really don't understand why we didn't bring another right back in, but that's a conversation that we've been having for a while, and we can have it in the summer maybe.
Yeah, I think that's an area that will probably be looked at in the summer. But I think Mario, again, I think he's getting better. Maybe a bit of an off day yesterday, but he still wasn't bad by any stretch. But I think his experience could be valuable. Porteous.
I'm going to give him a 6, and it's a bit harsh. I know that, well, I mean, the own goal was entirely his fault, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was very Watford, wasn't it? He is solid, and he's a lot better than a lot of people that we've watched, and I've been really impressed so far. It wasn't his best game, but against a pretty strong attack, I thought he put in a good shift. But yeah, I mean, with the goal, it's hard to put him above a 6.
Yeah, and Big Wes.
He got booked really early on, didn't he? And that really, really frustrates me in a sense that, again, there were a couple of moments where, I mean, he's got really long legs, and when he throws them about, I mean, I get really worried that he's going to put in a horrible challenge at some point. But again, solid, maybe a 7. I mean, I've got full confidence. I've seen a couple of people say that they think that Cathcart would come in for him. I don't think that should be the case, but I'm a big believer in defensive partnerships as opposed to looking at them individually. But yeah, I'd probably give them a 7.
I thought it was excellent.
Sorry, Sam, would you bring Cathcart in when he's fully fit?
Probably not, no. I saw suggestions further up, I think it was from Lou Ornsss again, about a back 5 with Cathcart coming in until Cathcart got injured. But I really like the duo. I thought, a bit like on Monday night, I said I thought Porteous was very good and Hoot had a bit of an off day. I thought it was the other way around. I thought Porteous had a bit of an off day and I thought Hoot stepped up massively. I think it was brilliant yet again, and I think we're really benefiting from having a centre back who can use his left foot as well, and looks really good for that. But in terms of a defender who can use their left foot, James Morris at left back. That was a lovely little move over.
I'm going to give him an 8, and I think it could be deemed generous. I think that he's really shown. I mean, he's proved his place. He thoroughly deserves to be in the team, and I really struggle over whether he should be playing over Kamara, because we know what Kamara is capable of, but we've also seen some absolute disaster classes. But he works hard. As I said earlier, like his delivery into the box was not bad by any stretch. And he didn't look out of his comfort zone. I feel like, for example, at Norwich, again, another very strong opponent and a good team, there were times where I was nervous that, he'd be done for pace or he'd just be like out dribbled. But no, I thought he held his own really well, and I hope that Bilic keeps him in the team for a while.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Morris yesterday. I think the only kind of one thing, there was a chance at the beginning where he just needed to have a better pass to put in Davis early on. But I think his delivery has been excellent once he goes in. And that's when I was talking about Arouge might be better in the box with his movement to meet those deliveries. But I think he put in about 3 or 4 crosses, were absolutely in brilliant areas. He's playing against a player, Bogle, I think, who's really good. They play with a 5 at the back, kind of overlapping wingers, and I think really impressive to see James Morris come in and not just kind of cope, but I think he's playing well. So I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the midfield, we'll start off with Imran Loser, who got, was it just under 60 minutes, I think it was, until Ismail Kone came on.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 6, and I know it's harsh because he's coming back from injury, but I think if you compare his performance yesterday to what we know he's capable of, everyone knows that he wasn't at his best. The issue is that that final ball just isn't there, and it's not just him. I mean, you can put it down to a load of people, but when it comes into that like final ball going in, or when we're taking our chance, it's just not going right, and it's very clear to see that we've missed him. I mean, that's extremely obvious, but I think based off yesterday alone, can't give him more than the 6.
Charlie, thoughts?
Yeah, I think, like I said about the game, I thought it was quite like a scatty game. Jacob said it on the TikTok. Get on the TikTok if you haven't already. A little plug in there. But he said it was a shaky half. And I thought I wanted him more. Normally he's quite good at it, but demanding the ball and just kind of dictating the tempo a bit more. It just seemed kind of no one really had control. So again, Bilic said after that he only had 45 minutes. So let's just hope he builds up his confidence and he can start dictating games for us. But I agree with what Jack said.
Yeah, I think Loser, I think he struggled to adapt to the pace of the game as well at times, which is just a consequence of him not starting many games in a while, but I'm sure he will get better. Now, Hamza Chowdhury, I'll just say something quickly first is I hold my hands up. I got it wrong about him. Because before his injury, I was very, very critical of him. But I think now, since he's come back from his injury, I think A, I saw when he was out the side what we were missing, and B, I think he's getting better by the week. Jack, what were your thoughts on Hamza yesterday?
He was incredible, wasn't he? I mean, it was one of those performances, and this will stand out at the end of the season, even though we didn't win. It will stand out as one of the performances that we will remember for the next couple of years. I mean, he was just immense. The way he throws himself about. He's like, when I was saying before about playing within yourself, I mean, since he's come back from his injury, he's just been absolutely immense. I'll give him a 9 because I don't really want to throw 10s about for anyone except for Gaspar. But no, I really thought he was excellent. And the way that he's able to link up between the defence and the attack without us having to go route one, I think is something that we've been missing probably for a while, actually. I mean, I'm off the top of my head, I'm struggling to think of players that are really good at carrying the ball forward from central defence to midfield and playing it out to the wingers. But no, I thought the way he committed himself to the game yesterday was amazing.
Yeah, Charlie, I think it's a 6 million clause we have at the end of the season if we get promoted, I think it is, or regardless. I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure either. I think it'd probably be likely if we get promoted. I think he'll want to keep his options open. He'll want to be playing in the Premier League. But yeah, I've always liked him. I think he's class. I think everyone needs a team like that, a player like that in their team. I actually didn't really make any notes about Chowdhury. I don't know if I'm just used to that like kind of dynamic performance getting around the pitch, but I think it was quite similar to his performance at Burnley away. I call him the fireman, always putting out fires. But yeah, I love Hamza, and Sam does too now, which is.
Yeah, I'll hold my hands up, and I think particularly when Imran Loser's back fully fit, someone who can, because I still think Chowdhury's game is limited with respect to getting the ball out his feet and picking up passes. But I think when Imran Loser's back fully fit next to him, I think it could be a great combination. But just in front of them was João Pedro. A quieter-ish game for João. What did you make of it, Jack?
Gonna give him a 6. I think that, I mean, we say the same things all the time. Like, you know what you're going to get from him. He's so good on the ball and he makes things happen. I think actually he was a victim of us going through him too many times, and it was just too predictable, and you can almost mark him out the game. And especially with the way that Sheffield United set up, I thought that I mean they defended him pretty well. Couple of good opportunities. It was a shame. I thought he could have done better with that header. I don't know if he was trying to glance it onto Davis or not. But the truth is, I don't actually think that Bilic knows what his best role is. I know that we've spoken about the idea of him playing as the 9, whether he's better in the 10, but he's coming deep so much, and I myself don't know where his best position is, but we all know that he gets the ball, he makes things happen, and if it's not him, we just need the people around him to try and get up to his level, because he's the player that makes the difference. And if we are to sneak into the playoffs, I guarantee that he will be the reason.
Yeah, probably. Moving on to the left-hand side, someone I think actually struggled yesterday. I thought Ken didn't have his best game for as good as he was on Monday night. Looked a bit leggy, I thought, and gave the ball away cheaply a couple of times. What did you make of Ken Sema?
I've got him down as a 6. He wasn't as good as he was against West Brom. I think that we know that he's not going to be as quick as Sarr or other wingers in the league, and so you can't really compare him. But what his talent is holding the ball up and finding a way to get past his player, whether it's with his 1 million step overs or his silky skills. I think he struggled with that more yesterday. Whether he was leggy, I mean, it's hard to tell. But you're right; it didn't look as fluid a performance as we know he's capable of. I mean, he still looked creative, and you can see. I mean, I wouldn't say that he doesn't deserve his place in the team. I'd still keep going with him, but frustrating because it just didn't work out.
What flank do you think suits us better, to have Sarr on the left or Sema on the left?
For me, I'm going Sarr on the right, and I know that. I mean, his talent when he's cutting in is brilliant, and we've seen him score nice goals from the right. But was it against Reading? He scored those 2 screamers in our promotion season when he was playing down the right. I think I just got used to him playing on the right, and especially with Ken as well. Because I mean, no offense to you, Ken, but your right foot is not quite your left foot, and so he doesn't quite offer the same cutting in comparison to Sarr. But I don't mind the idea of switching it up, especially to try and catch the fullbacks out. I'm not opposed to it at all, so long as we don't overuse it. But our issue is that we're getting found out. I mean, I don't imagine that we're a particularly difficult team to analyse. I think I could tell you, how we're going to try and score each week. But yeah, I think I'd go Sarr on the right, Sema on the left.
Yeah, I think, as Caroline says here, Sema on the left, but mainly because it suits Ken better, just due to that left foot. But onto Ismaila Sarr then. Polarised opinion, I think, again yesterday. What did you make of him?
He's down at a 4, but this is relative to what he's capable of. I'm so frustrated by him week in, week out, and I wouldn't say I'm the biggest critic because his talent is so clear. And I mean, Deeney said this after when we beat Liverpool, that he's just raw pace, and he's not the finished product. And that's something about him that I really love. That just he runs and he's so quick. And I mean, we've seen him in front of goal. He's brilliant. But the issue is just his attitude seems like it stinks. And I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from my position. I don't think I've been at enough games to be able to kind of pick up on that kind of thing. But from my perspective, I'm just not seeing the level of commitment. Like, if you could put Sarr's ability into Chowdhury's work ethic, you've got the perfect player for the Championship, in my opinion. But goes down too easily, spends too much time moaning. There's an argument about whether he's getting the right service and what his role is. Are we trying to get in behind? Are we trying to catch teams on the counter? Not really sure.
Charlie?
Yeah, the only note I've got down, I thought he should have done better with a chance. I can't remember it. Did he have a good chance early on, kind of on the right? Yeah, not one of his best games. I like what Jack said about João Pedro, and we're kind of always looking at him to be the main person who's drive us at 21. It's unrealistic. That's when you need your teammates to help you and get you out. But yesterday was a game where we look to our better players, go and win us the game, because the unit was good. We played pretty well, but we just needed someone with extra quality, and that's where we needed a Sarr or Pedro to step up, and I think that's why we didn't win the game. So you have to agree with Jack.
Yeah, and someone else as well who splitting opinion as a whole at the moment. We spoke about him earlier in the video, but Keenan Davis, what did you make of him yesterday, Jack?
Frustrating. He was the most frustrating out of all of them. I'm going to give him a 4 as well. And I think for me, coming in, we knew what he was capable of. I mean, I saw so many videos on what he could offer us. I think that, he's peaked at the Luton game, and I really hope he can find some form, because he did a pre-match interview, didn't he, where he said it's like confidence is a massive thing for him. I don't think that it's a lack of service. I do think that we are playing into his strengths, and even when he's picking the ball up deeper and running at defenders, he's brilliant at it, and I could see him scoring a worldie at some point. But for a number 9, when we're relying on him, if you look at some of the other strikers in the league, Bradshaw's the perfect example at Millwall. They might not be the best goals, but he's bagging a lot at the moment, and this is our issue, and it's one of the reasons why we're not in a more comfortable position than we are. It is really frustrating because it's so clear what his skill set is, and I can see him being a really good player for us. It just hasn't worked out, and I'm not quite sure what it's going to take for that to happen, whether it is a goal coming in any shape or form, whether it's changing up the system, but it needs to be something, and I really hope it happens on Saturday.
Yeah, Charlie, just looking at the table now, other than Blackburn, who have a goal difference of 0, with Middlesbrough with a goal difference of +16, Millwall and them lot up the road have a +8, Norwich with a +11, Sunderland with +11, Watford have just +3. This is worrying, isn't it, considering how tight it is and how it could come down to goal difference at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think recruitment plays a bit of a part in this as well. I think we all know what Keenan Davis brings, and I think we all said he's not a natural goal scorer. Like we talked about his goals, but what he brings to the team is other areas. And then kind of Arouge looks great. That came in kind of January. Obviously, the Bio Menard situation, which I don't really want to talk about, and kind of Brick coming in. So I think that's the kind of wider strategy area that we maybe we thought we had more goals in the team, or we thought Yao or Saar were going to get a lot more than they are. But yeah, massive reason why we are where we are, because we don't score enough goals.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the subs, Watford made 3. I think it's only going to be worth rating Ismail Kone as Assombalonga and Arouge don't think he had enough time to make a real impact. But what would you give Ismail Kone, Jack?
I'll give Kone a 6. I thought he played well against West Brom, and I like what he offers. It's harsh for him to get dropped, but I agree with the decision. I think that he has a lot of potential, and you can see that kind of he will be the kind of player that can open teams up with passes, and we're just waiting for that ball into Saar in behind, and you know that we will score from that. He needs minutes, and he needs a good run in the team. Will he get it, and does he deserve it? Starting, probably not at the moment. I don't think I'd change up. We don't know how long it's going to take for Loser to get fully match fit, but I think if that is the role that he's going to play, coming on to replace tired legs, then he needs to be on it from minute 1. And is he going to be able to do that? I'm not sure. I really hope so. And just on the other two, Britt Assombalonga, why? Like, what's the thing? Sam, I couldn't agree with you more about Toby Adeyemo. I don't know who you would replace him on the bench with other than Assombalonga. But
Assombalonga, yeah. I put Adeyemo over.
It's the most it's like we might as well bring Kike back for another stint. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. He's just a not very good Keenan Davis. When you're coming on in that kind of situation, you want him to be throwing himself about, leading the press, holding the ball up. They can't play together. That's just like off the cards completely, because the two of them, that'd be like the most immobile strike force of all time. But so frustrating, completely unsurprising. If you wanted Watford summed up in a couple of sentences this season, it'd be us re-signing Britt Assombalonga and the Bayo and Manai fast. But yeah, talk about
Charlie, what have you made of Britt since he's come back?
Yeah, I said it on the last video. It's hard. Like we know that goal mile scramble, he was kind of in the mix, and I thought he just nudges that in, he'll be a hero again. I think he said in an interview, didn't he, yesterday, about he needs to get up to fitness. So there's obviously an issue there, which, Jack's got his head in his hands. And again, we could talk about recruitment, but it is what it is. But I said about Toby Adiemo when kind of Britt came in, and I do tend to agree with you, Sam. But I do think it's hard kind of judging him off 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't look great at the moment.
This is the issue, though, with having the injury crisis that we did. The issue is that during that, people get a chance and they get a run in. And I mean, did he do enough to merit getting, into the squad each week? No, but I mean, coming on to Asprilla, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that he's not making it into the squad. And there must be, of course, there's something going on in the background that we don't know about. It's just like the Adam Messina and Nigel Pearson incident. Like, there must be something going on, and we're never going to know, most likely, what it is. But I mean, for a boy that has so much talent and could very easily be the difference, I know that he, amongst everyone else, can't seem to score. But I mean, that pass at Norwich alone would be enough for him to get on the bench every week. And I know that people are complaining about Bakuna's place each week, and I know that they're not the same player and they have different roles. But I really, really don't understand it. Like, it's borderline upsetting that we've got this talent and we're not using it. And I mean, I can imagine in a few years' time, when we get promoted, obviously, and we hold Pedro and we don't sell him, and we've got Sarr, Pedro, Asprilla. I mean, the talent and the potential that the team has, I just really hope that the people upstairs that definitely know what they're doing can find a way of unlocking it.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us today. Just before I let you go then, and we come on to our very big announcement, how are you feeling then going into the next few games? Massive ones, aren't they?
Well, I'm a bit stupid because I got a bit excited after the West Brom game. So I've booked my flights back for the game down the road, which I'm actually really nervous about now. And I'm just going to try and not think about it. I want to say I'm confident. I don't want to say I'm confident. I don't know what to expect from Watford. And this is the thing. We haven't put together any form this season. Okay, we were unbeaten in 5 going into yesterday's game. We need to win as many as we can, and what I want to see is convincing performances. But to be honest, even if it's not convincing, I'd take a scrappy 1-0 that we score in the second minute and then hold on really uncomfortably for the rest of the game. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the Championship's an unbelievable league, and I think it's amazing seeing teams beating each other each week. Like, you've got no idea what's going to happen. I think, except for those top 2 who look pretty confirmed now, unless Middlesbrough can catch Sheffield United. I think that, between us and Coventry and Millwall and Norwich, I've got no idea who's going to finish in those 4 spots. And I'm excited to see how it unfolds. And we've just got to hope and cross our fingers that we'll all be at the pond come May.
Hope so. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today, mate.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Take care. Well, that was good, wasn't it? I'm enjoying bringing other fans on as well for the player ratings. It's good to sort of get different voices in here, their opinions as well, isn't it?
Yeah, if people want to get involved, where to get us in the comments or tweet us. But I agree with you, Sam. It's great to get the fans on here, different voices, different opinions, and give people the opportunity to have their say.
Yeah, definitely. And please do. You can see Charlie and I's @ the bottom left of our screens here. Drop us a DM or drop WD18 or Jacob a DM as well, and we'll be more than happy at some point to hopefully get you on the channel to hear your player ratings. In terms of the special announcement, thanks for everyone who has stuck around. Charlie, do you want to announce it?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. I'm really excited that this week we're going to be speaking to former Watford manager Xisco Munoz, who obviously got us promoted a couple of seasons ago. So really excited to sit down with Xisco, have a chat about his time at Watford. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you'll get notified when it goes live. And if you guys have got a question for Xisco, get in the comments, tweet us, send all your questions, and hopefully we'll put a couple of them to them. You looking forward to it, Sam?
I'm buzzing for it. I want to hopefully get him singing a rendition of Sweet Caroline that can hopefully spur us over the line this season. But I think it really, really excited to hear from Cisco, his thoughts on Watford at the moment, hear his thoughts on how the rest of last season panned out after his exit. I think that it'll be interesting to hear what he says in terms of the players that he enjoyed working with, special moments from the promotion season a couple of years ago. And hopefully we can, from there, sort of draw parallels with the team that we have now. I know it's very different situations because we're not pushing for the top two, but I hope we can at least get a really good insight into what that season was like a couple of years ago.
And I just can't wait to see that smile.
Yeah, what a man. And as Caroline says, we're all looking forward to seeing Cisco again. But as we say, please like and subscribe to us here. Put your notifications on, and that video will be live at some point this week. Make sure as well to check out our TikTok. Jacob released his video yesterday from his day at Sheffield United. Charlie, thank you so much for joining me again today, mate.
No, I always enjoy it. Makes my Sunday evening seeing you, mate.
You
at Preston?
I will be at Preston, yeah. I think.
See you there.
I'm trying to think if I'm missing another one this season. I hope to get to the majority of them throughout the rest of them. But looking forward to you, Charlie. Looking forward to seeing you. If you do see us at Preston, make sure to come and say hello, and we'll see you back for another video soon during the week for the Cisco Munoz interview. Come on, you Ornsss.